All right, so today we're going to make some twig art. And what you're gonna need are some twigs. And you can gather these on a nice walk. Make sure they are as straight as possible. It just makes it a little easier. Then you're going to need some paint. You can pick one color or have a couple different colors and you can mix and match as you need. You're also going to need some shears, so of course you can cut your twigs to the appropriate length. If you pick really thin twigs, you're probably going to need more twigs, but you could also probably break them easier or use a pair of scissors you're not afraid to mess up. You're also going to need probably a Sharpie or a pen or pencil of some sort. And then you're going to need some sort of pattern. As you can see here, I've cut out a heart pattern. That's kind of my standard. So I have my pattern here. You can either draw it on a piece of paper and keep it like that, or you can cut it out as I have done. Then you're going to take your twigs and you're going to lay them out on your pattern like this. And you're going to try to keep them as close together as you can. Sometimes a little bit more difficult if they are bent. That's why we want them straight. All right, so I'm going to lay out just a few. What you want to do is the entire shape. And then you're going to mark where you're going to cut your twigs. This just makes it a little easier. So you're going to mark where you're going to cut all of your twigs. And you would continue that all the way down. Okay, so while you do that, we'll check back in just a minute. Okay, so now we have all of our twigs cut in the pattern that we are going for. So as you can see here, my heart is complete. All right, now the next thing we're gonna do is paint it. And you can paint it any way you want. You could do multiple color, each stick a different color, or you can do kind of a fade in. What I'm gonna try to do is paint it so that it fades in. So slightly darker, and then I'm gonna leave the twig color at the top. All right, so I have my paint here, and the easier thing to do is again to mark it where you want to paint it. So I am just going to go straight across here and put little marks so I know where to paint to. And then I'm going to paint my twigs. And you want to make sure you're painting it all the way around. This is going to end up looking a little bit like a wind chime of sorts. Okay, so here's my mark. I'm going to paint below it one color, and then I could do the top color a different, top part a different color, or I can just leave it as is. So we're gonna see what I end up with. All right, design whatever you want. Okay, so as you can see here, I'm still in the process of painting my sticks. So I'm going all the way around and I'm painting the whole lower half, right below where I've made my mark. And I'm going to keep going until I have completely finished all of my sticks. Okay, so here's the challenging part. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to get some string, and in my case I am actually going to use some dental floss that I have. So all you're going to do is tie the top of one of your twigs, and you're going to tie it to the big branch that you have at the top. And actually I would not start on the edge, I would start with your center stick. So after it's all nice and dry, mine's not quite dry yet, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to start with my middle twig, and I'm going to wrap it around a couple times before I tie it in a knot. And you can trim off the edges now or later. Okay, there we go. Now, see about how high you want it above it. Then I'm going to cut it so it's a little easier for me to work with. Now, if you have thicker twigs, then you don't need as many, so you won't have to do this as much. And you can space them out a little bit more. But if you have used thinner twigs like me, because they're easier to cut, then you're gonna have to do this a little bit longer. All right, so I have my first twig. Ta-da! All right, and then I'm going to work my way around, and you can adjust it as needed. So if you don't tie it in a knot, you can always make adjustments. All right, then I'm going to continue down one side and then the other side, tying each twig to my big stick. Now space them out up at the top a little bit. They don't have to be exactly, so maybe give it half an inch to a quarter inch, and then you can eyeball it by using the line where you painted, because you want that in a relatively flat line. So if you painted two different colors or left the top part bare like I did, just follow the line. So as you're tying, just make sure that that pink line or whatever color line is relatively even. Okay, check back in a little bit, see how you're doing. Okay, so here is my finished heart. It's not perfect, but you can still see the shape of the heart. And then all you're gonna need to do is either trim it as you want, if you wanna make it look a little bit more like the shape that you designed, or you can just go ahead and grab your final piece of string. I'd probably get something a little bit thicker than what you used to tie each with, but then you can just tie it to each end of your big stick. And then even if your shape doesn't quite hold, you still have something, a nice little wind chime. So it's kind of a heart. If you use bigger sticks, it's a little easier to keep the shape because you can measure them out just a little bit easier, and then they'll fall in place because you won't have quite so many. I chose little ones because I wanted my pattern to be a little bit more intricate, but as you can see here, it didn't quite hold perfectly. But it still has a nice color. So you can decorate it however you want. Glitter, multiple colors of paint, however you want. So it kind of looks like a heart. Not perfect, but still a little bit. All right, so enjoy, have fun, and if anything, just sounds nice.